What's up guys, Ryan here from Mudgunner, and today we are talking about my main home defense guns that I have next to my bed. And this is gonna rotate a little bit, or it's gonna vary, because me being a YouTuber and doing gun stuff, and I work in a gun store, I take guns to work every single day, I'm always taking stuff out of my safes, and sometimes it's easier to just bring it to work with me the next day. So I will say that sometimes my, home defense guns do rotate, but these are kind of the gold standard ones that are always nearby. So I'm just gonna walk you through them today. And what you'll notice is they're actually fairly basic compared to everything I show you guys on my channel. And as far as my preference goes on pistol versus shotgun versus rifle, that's really gonna be dependent on your situation. I tend to like my AR just because it's 30 round capacity, but one thing with the shotgun that is like undeniable is it's the absolute maximum stopping power. So it's like the absolute one hit knockout, if that makes sense to you guys. I'm trying to be, PC, but one hit knockout power from the 12 gauge. Everything else is kind of like, shot placement, a little bit more that could go into it. But with that being said, my main AR that stays nearby next to my bed 24/7 is this one. And these are all chambered, so I'm not gonna play with them too much. But this is my LMT. It's a Defender 2000. It's basically like an MRP, their monolithic railed platform. It's a quad rail, I don't remember the exact length, and it's direct impingement. You notice I have my mag pulse sling set up here. I basically have it covering the tip of the barrel so that less dust gets in there. Having dogs, things get dusty, so, or mainly my Blue Heeler Harley. It's got an Aimpoint Pro on here. I just flip this down and it's ready to go. I don't leave it on just because I've actually had batteries on these not last very long, so I don't leave this one on, but it's got iron sights, so that's my excuse for that. I'm running a Surefire Scout Light on here. It did have a Streamlight Pro Tac on there for a while, but I basically start off with like lower price point stuff. And by lower price point, I mean the lowest red dots I go is like Hollow Sun or Vortex. The lowest lights I go is Streamlight. At one point it was Enforce. I just don't currently own any Enforce. And then as time goes on and I'm able to acquire more secondhand good deals on name brand stuff, I will upgrade stuff. So I recently swapped this to a Surefire from the Streamlight Pro Tac, and that one was a pressure pad with the light running on this side. So yeah, it is a basically stock LMT. It's nothing fancy on the trigger, nothing fancy on the safety selector. I bought it used, spray painted like this. I've shot it a lot, I've ran it suppressed, runs great. Again, mil-spec trigger, and it's just a great overall gun. As far as price point goes, I know they're expensive new, but I am not into this one as much. So that's why it tends to be more of the permanent home defense AR setup, because not that like money would necessarily matter in that instance, right? Like, I guess if I had a $200 gun versus a $2,000 or $20,000 gun, my life is worth all of that to me. So I'm not the type of person that's like, oh my gosh, I could never use that gun for home defense because it's too expensive. My mindset is if you bought it once, you can save up for it and buy it again. So if your life depends on it, money doesn't matter. So yeah, but with that being said, as far as like, not that this isn't secure, but it's less secure than my stuff in my safes. So yeah, this just tends to be what I leave near my bed most of the time. So it's got hollow points in it. Everything here has hollow points. I don't use full metal jackets for home defense. Shotgun's got buckshot, so that is my mindset. Also, is I run hollow points and everything. I know there are some people that run full metal jackets. It's not my preference. I don't recommend it, but to each their own. But yeah, this thing definitely is a little dusty because it sits upright next to my bed, and yeah, just having a dog again, everything gets dusty. So I like having a cap on here just so it doesn't get the lens all covered. But everything else runs good. Again, just 30 round mag. It's a 16-inch barrel. I've watched the whole, suppressed versus unsuppressed thing. Obviously a suppressor would be nicer, but I'm not super worried about it. We'll get into this one in a second, but I don't leave a suppressor on this. I only have 2 Surefire cans, and those I tend to run on other guns. One of them is permanently attached to my Scar 16 for the most part, and then the other one, that kind of rotates between guns, but yeah, I don't leave it suppressed, so I'm less worried about my ears in that scenario, but it could be an issue. So that is the AR. Again, it's a factory LMT. It's a Defender 2000. It's one of the old ones. But setup is we got the Surefire Scout Light, Daniel Defense fixed iron sights, an Aimpoint Pro, and a Magpul sling. It has a Magpul grip and a Magpul stock. Nothing too fancy. It has a built-in QD point in the rail, so I didn't have to buy any extra QD points. The stock has one and the rail has one. So I like it. Spray paint job actually looks pretty good on there. The person before me shot it well. I've shot it a bunch and it runs good. And shotgun wise, we have this one. This is a Mossberg 500, and it is specifically the Talo edition, the ATI Scorpion. So it's got ATI furniture on there. It comes from the factory like this, minus the red dot and the light. It had a different like iron sight on here, but my girlfriend knocked this over and it broke off. Luckily the gun didn't go off, but yeah, my front sight off here did break from getting knocked over and landing on tiles, so not great there. But yeah, the gun did not go off. That's the one thing I've always heard about shotguns, is they're more prone to go off if you drop them, so I don't recommend dropping them. It's also kind of hit or miss as far as whether people recommend keeping them chambered or not. To me, it's kind of worthless chambered, and I'm not under the mindset that, oh, if they hear you rack it, they'll run. I don't want them to hear it. That's my mindset. So it's all just personal preference with this stuff, guys. This is just my personal preference. I leave everything chambered, and yeah, I feel more secure with it that way. So the way I have this set up is the first round is a 3-inch Magnum buckshot, and then the second round is 4-buck. Well, the second and all the other rounds are 4-buck. So my mindset behind the 12-gauge buckshot that I choose, it's a Federal 3-inch Magnum buckshot. It's 3-inch Magnum buckshot, and it's double-aught because that is like one of the most powerful rounds you can use. Besides like a slug, I'm sure a slug would do the same amount of damage. My thought with this is I want the most powerful shotgun round out of the get-go if I had to use my shotgun. So obviously there's so many home defense scenarios you can picture, and I've thought of all of them. And I guess if someone is breaking into my house, knowing that I'm home, there's probably more than one person. And my thing with this is just first round impact is going to stop whatever the first threat is. And if there's multiple, then at that point I have 4-buck after. And then if I go through all the 4-buck, I have double-aught buck on the side. So that is my reason for loadouts. To be honest, 12-gauge buckshot is 12-gauge buckshot. At a close range, it's like what Clint Smith says. It's going to remove chunks off your opponent. So yeah, I just tend to run the 3-inch Magnum buckshot for the first one, which is right here, and then 4-buck for the ones after that. And I'm not going to be one of those fail videos where it's like, oh, he just put a hole through his ceiling. No. As far as optic and light goes, it's a very cheap light. Yeah, nothing special. It's strobes, and the battery's dying on that, but that's okay. It's still on. And then the red dot is nothing special. I don't even know who makes it. It doesn't have a brand on it, but it has a serial number. And I keep the cap on here just like halfway on, again, for dust and dog hair. So yeah, just it has a power button on the side. Turn it on if I need it. And other than that, it's good. So that is my shotgun. Again, it's the Mossberg 500 ATI Scorpion Edition. And then we'll get over here. Subgun wise, I do have a subgun, and this one tends to go with me in various places, I guess. Not like into places, but if I'm driving, like I went to my mom's house for dinner last night, and I just stick this in my car and take it there because why not? And then me and my brother swapped cars for the day because I needed to borrow his truck. And I was like, wait, I gotta get my gun out of the car. And he's like, you left your gun in the car? I'm like, yeah, and it was just at my mom's house. But I grab it, he's like, why do you have that in there? I'm like, why not? It's awesome, it's a B&T. But yeah, I've done a video, like a standalone video on this gun. This is a B&T GHM9. I do have a suppressor on here. It's got a CGS Mod 9 SK suppressor, which mine is the Kraken SK, but the modern one's the Mod 9 SK. And then I have a wrap on here. And this is just so if I drive with it at the base of my feet, like I just stick it next to my feet while I'm driving, this keeps the suppressor from hitting the ground. And I mean, it works fine. So basically if I like crush it, it's not gonna do anything to the suppressor. Just again, my thoughts on it. It's got a little Surefire scout light on there. Trijicon RMR. One thing I learned with this is the rail is very low, so not all mounts work. Like the Scalar Work RMR mount will not mount to this, so I had to put it on a riser. It's got the Unity riser, then the Scalar Works mount for the RMR. But it's a very nice gun. I like shooting it. It's got Federal HST 147 grain in there, and then with the suppressor, it's quiet and still good stopping power. So yeah, this I'll just put in my bedroom or in my office while I'm recording and editing YouTube videos. Or I'll drive with it, and it's fun. I also use it as like a camping gun, like miniature self-defense gun. I just did a video with my buddy Mason, and we were talking about like disaster preparedness, like because of the hurricanes on the East Coast and stuff. And I was like, if you don't want to take an AR with you, something like this is perfect because it'll fit in any vehicle. You can stuff it in a bag if you need it, and yeah, it's just a very compact platform that's better than a pistol. But speaking of pistols, probably one of the most practical self-defense guns and practical guns in the world. Like if you're gonna get a gun and you only want like one, or you're not as into this, like I understand there are different levels of gun people and not everyone cares about shotguns or ARs, that's fine. But the most practical gun would be a handgun. And this is not my main carry handgun right now. I carry a Glock 43 during the day right now. Once it cools down, I tend to carry my Shadow Systems, which is this one right here. It's an MR918, which is a Glock 19 size. So it's still 100 degrees here in summer, so, or right now, it's not summer. It's October, and it's still 100 degrees during the day. But this is what I'll carry once it cools down and I can wear a jacket because it's got a light, it's got an RMR. It's only a 15 round capacity with this mag that's in there. I carry a spare 17 round there because this holster will also work for this. So I'll just pop this in here. And yeah, I'll appendix this. It's a tier 1 concealed holster with my shadow systems with the 15 round mag and the 17 round mag. But yeah, this one's nice because light and optic, but it's just a Glock 19 size pistol. But while it's at home, it stays in my battle belt here, and this battle belt stays next to my bed too. And yeah, just leave it in there. But I didn't want to leave the holster empty, so I keep a Glock 17 Gen 4C in there with the Streamlight TLR1. And this is a fresh TLR1. It's bright. The more that you shoot them, the more worn out they get. So I'll show you this one again real fast. So this is a pretty worn out TLR1 that's no longer 1,000 lumens. So yeah, this light has about 11,000 rounds on it with this gun. So yeah, it's probably time for a new TLR1, but it's definitely lived up a good life. And yeah, so for home defense, like the main one next to the bed right now is a Glock 17C. So compensated, it's got a comp, like a cutout in the barrel and the slide. It's got Ameriglow night sights, the Streamlight TLR1, spare mag. And what's nice about this is next to my bed, if I just open my eyes at night, I can see the tritium glowing, and it gives me a reference point to where to grab it, as long as you know which way you put it. Because obviously if you put it like this, I see the light, the sights, but I go to grab over here, it's not gonna work. So I always keep it in the same spot, so muscle memory. And then whatever I'm carrying during the day, that also makes it on my nightstand too. I don't wanna leave any guns near the front door if someone breaks into my house, because last thing I wanna do is be shot with my own gun. But yeah, so handgun wise, Glock 17, battle belt wise, shadow systems, and then it's got a mag for the AR, 3 extra mags, and these are all hollow points. So again, everything for home defense is hollow points. So lots of hollow points here if I need it. And then I also keep like medical and stuff next to my bed. But these are the main guns. Again, it can rotate depending on what I'm making YouTube videos with, or if I go shooting, take stuff to work. So guns change at times, but these tend to be the staple of what I use. And there's not necessarily a brand preference. I just like these. I'm gonna be changing the light and the optic on here at some point. I've shot with this a lot and I've had no issues with this red dot, even though it's kind of like not a name brand. I've even done like the clay pigeon shooting out in the desert with my friends, and it holds up pretty well. So you don't have to spend an insane amount of money to get started, especially with a shotgun, since I'm less worried about missing. You still have to aim with it, but yeah, I don't need it to be perfectly zeroed, because put the dot on the target, it's gonna hit what I'm aiming at. Everything else is dialed in pretty good. So hope this helps you guys. And again, this is just my personal preference on what I use for my house. Your house may vary, so plan accordingly. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and stay tuned for my next video.